All right, so we're back here once again on a on a here on Couch Coach Live under the lights here, 8 o'clock. So we're gonna continue our 10th annual Couch Coach Live NFL preview with the AFC East. We got the Podfather in the building. What's going on, Jeff?
Man, it is great to be back, man. I could go on and on about how much I like doing your show and how proud I am of you, but I'm just really happy to be back and talking ball with I'm gonna honestly, truly one of the best in the business, and you've proven that over the last 10 years plus now.
Yeah, most definitely appreciate it. And yeah, man. So we'll be talking about your beloved Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots, and the New York
Oh boy.
Jets. So we definitely got a great show lined up. So what we're gonna do, we'll kick that intro, and we'll be right back, and we'll bring Maui in the frame after the intro, and we'll be right back. Like that. So we're back here once again. We'll bring Maui in now.
My man.
What's going on?
What's up? Sorry for my tardiness, but you know how them showers go.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. We know you bring the content, so we're not holding it. But I'll just say I retired 9 months ago and I still made it on time. I just want to put that out there.
Hey man, I was early yesterday.
But yeah, so we're gonna kick off our 7th of 8 divisions that we've done so far, and we're gonna talk the AFC East tonight. In our 10th annual Couch Coach Live NFL preview is powered by the good folks at SeatGeek. Head over to SeatGeek.com. Use the promo code CouchCoach. Get yourself $20 off on your first purchase. And like we said, so many good games coming up this fall. Hey, get your tickets right now. Just go on to SeatGeek. Use the promo code CouchCoach. Like, give you $20 off. Hey, so we'll help you out this fall and winter or wherever you want to go. Sporting events, concerts, you name it. So we're there. So we're gonna talk about the AFC East and what a interesting division that this is, in my personal opinion. So we're gonna go around the horn, fellas. So we're gonna first start off of our storylines in the AFC East. I'm gonna go with you first. Father, what are your AFC East storylines to watch?
Man, there's a couple. I know we're going to talk about the glaring obvious one, so I'll skip past some of that. One thing I really want to watch. I want to watch the Dolphins defense. I think they can be a surprisingly good group. They've got a ton of athletes out there. They're really good up the middle, which you need to be. They've got I want all pros at every level at their defense right now. Like, that's one of the things, like, as much as we talk about that Dolphins offensive staff, the defense could be really good. So I'm curious to see how that defense can hold up in a pretty heavy quarterback division. I mean, the worst quarterback in the division at on face value is Mac Jones, and that's still pretty good. Right. So I'm really curious to see this Dolphins defense. And then the second overall storyline I want to see is this AFC East has, the division has one of the toughest schedules in football because they play the NFC East this year and so on and so forth. So it's just like, who's going to survive? There's not a lot of off weeks. The Jets, who have been deemed the new 85 Bears, start off really tough in the early season. So I just want to see how, like, the schedule affects each of these teams, and if anybody takes some early dings and kind of tightens this up.
All right, Mario, who are your storylines to watch in this division?
I mean, definitely, for one, the smallest one to me is Tua. Is he going to be able to make it through the whole a full season without getting hurt? Everybody, Tua's numbers was remarkable, but I'll speak about that a little bit later. The Jets, with Aaron Rodgers, is this going to be the same thing as they? Are they going to, with Aaron Rodgers being there? Are they going to take over and win the division? And my main storyline, just like the last 3 years, has been Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So Josh Allen, issues. Is the elbow going to be a problem? The chemistry with Diggs. Is it going to be another meltdown in the playoffs like he did last year? And is the offense going to still be predictable? Because it seemed like the Bengals knew exactly what to do. Von Miller's hurt, right? Is he going to be at the beginning of the season, or he's back?
I'm hearing he's pretty healthy. I don't know if he's starting week 1, but from what I'm hearing, he's definitely going to projected to play the majority of the season.
So my storyline with all those issues are the Bengals about to backslide? Because I believe if Tua is healthy, Miami's going to be a problem. And like you said, Jeff, Mac Jones is not sorry, man. And you know what I'm saying? Like they didn't even have an offensive coordinator last year. He still put up numbers. Yep. So those are my storylines.
Yeah. And I guess you guys gave me the alley hoop in this situation. Obviously, the biggest storyline is it 2008 all over again, where a 39-year-old quarterback from Green Bay migrates to Gotham City. So now, 15 years later, we have Aaron Rodgers in the same position at this point, and going to the Jets. And how will he be that kind of final missing piece to the puzzle for them? And like I said, I think Tua's health. Obviously, you look at can he stay healthy, especially with the concussions, where this is a lot, way different ball game than any structural knee or any type of situation. So with him, if he gets another concussion, it's something that we gotta look at. And like you said, Mal, you look at what the Bills, and it's funny that the question is last year's hangover gonna carry over to this year, and some bizarre reason it's still carrying over. That's somewhat of a concern. I mean, you look at the whole situation with Stephon Diggs at OTAs. He skipped the OTAs, and then there was a lot of stuff that was going on with that, and then even yesterday when there was these so-called rumors that he wanted out, and then he kind of debunked that. So when there's smoke, there's fire. This stuff is still going on. So it's very interesting with that. And then will this be another playoff-less year in New England? And like you said, now having the Bill O'Brien there, now will he help? Will he help McCorkle? McCorkle. So will he help Mac Jones in this transition? Like you said, now he'll get the proper coaching because who was it? Matt Patricia and what's his face was there? Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. Yeah, Joe Judge.
Oh, yeah.
The two coaching retreads being there. So, yeah, it's definitely shout out to my guy, Rome. Fins up, family.
And it's one of those things that, the Patriots offense doesn't have to be great from what we're hearing. People really think their defense is going to be solid too, which under Belichick with all they're kind of they've quietly become a really modern defense. They're basically a bunch of hybrid defensive backs, heavy, guys that can do a lot of different things, which I believe is not just the future of the NFL, but the now of the NFL. And so the Patriots are really set up in that defensive backfield. But again, the schedule and the quarterbacks they got to face, and is Mac Jones up to it? And who knows? It might be. Is it Zappy? Is that it? Am I saying it right?
Yeah. Bailey Zappi, yeah.
Yeah. You didn't do terrible last year. A lot of people, again, everybody loves the backup, but he did a pretty good job when he came in. And so they're good enough at quarterback if that defense is as good as they say. And then you take a couple injuries on the other side. Because, everybody's hard on, the Tua thing. We all wonder if Tua is going to be healthy. Let's not act like Rodgers is an Iron Man. Like Rodgers has missed some seasons. He's 39 years old. If you had to ask me between basically, a 26-year-old quarterback that's coming off of what Tua did last year, and a 39-year-old quarterback. I don't think they're that far apart as far as injury risk,
Right.
above and beyond your average quarterback. So I don't think that it's a shoo-in that Rodgers, just going to walk out there and play 17 games and not get touched.
Yeah, man, and the boy turning 40 in November. So
yeah, I should have said Jets offensive line, but maybe that'll come up later. Like that's a glaring spotlights on that too.
Yeah, we definitely gonna talk about some of those guys, and for sure. So let's see. Let's talk about some players to watch in this division. I'm gonna go with you first, Paul Father. What you got?
So what I really want to watch it. I'll stay Dolphins heavy just because that's my team. I get to see more of them. And it's easy to say, like, so you got the secondary of the Dolphins. We thought we were going to have Ramsey and kind of building this up. It looks like as of right now, you go Eli Apple's a starter at secondary. You got Howard, who's really good. You got Holland, who's really good. Can that secondary hold up, against Rodgers and against, all these other great quarterbacks in the AFC? I really that's the players plural that I'm watching as a fan. When I'm watching my team, I'm really focused on, because I know Holland's a dog. Apple, he's a risk taker, but he played on a Super Bowl team. Like he kind of has a feeling for what it takes, but also he's got a lot of faults. He's going to get targeted. They're going to go after him. He's going to probably come up with some big plays. Just not exactly sure where it's going to go. And then another unit that I'm really looking for is the tight end group of the Buffalo Bills. Allen's got to figure out, Maui already touched on how predictable their offense is. You gotta, Allen, the key is he's got to learn to dink and dunk a little. That means you're going to bring your tight ends to it. Knox is pretty good. Kincaid, it's not, it's the group, when you just look at it, doesn't jump off the page, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be good. But if he can learn to use them and take some less hits, some less runs, maybe take 5 or 6 yards instead of always trying to take 30. I think that tight end group, plus with, they need a little better running game, so these guys got to block. So I think that's a group that's going to be really, really important to the Buffalo Bills this year. If they're gonna, that's exactly what we talked about. They got beat last year in the snow, on their own turf because they couldn't tough it out when they needed to, and that's exactly when you need, to be able to dink and dunk and take, smaller chunks of yards down the field and get, even if it's getting field goals, even if it's whatever, and that's something they couldn't do. The offense faltered when the weather got bad, which is a really tough spot to be if you play in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Mel, who you got your players to watch?
I'm gonna put players to watch, but I got a question that's with one of my players to watch. So I'm gonna say Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, Quincy Williams. I'm gonna say Mac Jones. I feel like he played 14 games. He got 14 TDs, 11 interceptions. He got 3,000 yards passing, 65% in completion percentage. And I think with Zeke I forgot the other running back's name. I just feel like he's going to improve. And they're actually even saying that they're looking at them to only win 3 games. And they said he's only had one fourth quarter win. And to me, I think because he's just trying to play within the system with that psychotic coach that they have. You know what I mean? He just don't want to mess up. I think if they let him be just a little bit more creative. And funny thing about that is Cam Newton talked about that. He said, I used to sit next to him and we both was talking over different things. So he's not a dumb quarterback. So I feel like he's going to be someone to watch, especially this is going to be his 3rd year. So I'm going to go back to
Stevenson's a running back. You were thinking
a running back.
It escaped me too. Really good player.
Yeah, and he got 1,000 yards. He's over 1,000 yards next year. So with Zeke there, because Zeke don't want to be every down.
No.
I don't know, you know what I mean? But if the momentum if the other running back is doing well, Zeke, I feel like Zeke's going to be. It's like he got paid and he did the opposite. Where if Zeke was doing well, the Cowboys was sure to win. So I'm gonna go Josh. I put Josh Allen because everything that you said, Jeff, is like, okay, I want to say some other players for that team, which we know Diggs and whoever else, but he's got to throw to them. He's got to use them a little bit more. Like he just has to. So let me ask you a question. If Diggs has an issue, right, and being a receiver, I want you to throw me the ball more because I want to get a contract, right? Or is he saying you need to get more mature and you need to expand on the offense a little bit better? So you are one of the best quarterbacks, and I might not have a quarterback as good as you. That's what I'm asking you guys. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I'll take just real quick. My
Mm-hmm.
philosophy on it is I like that you asked that. I'm with the fact that Diggs is like, I don't want to be out here running, go routes 12 times a game. Like I know my numbers are going to look great and the catches are going to look great, but
Right.
I'd like to take a play off and this guy, takes a 7-yarder, 8-yarder.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's not predicated on, him taking the top off the defense for an offense to work. That's a huge load to have on a wide receiver. And then of course, like, wide receivers don't like to sprint 50 yards downfield and not get the ball. Like that's
Right.
like people, it's an overlooked thing because you don't really see it because when we all watch it on TV, they all show the same, they're showing the trenches, they're showing the quarterback. Well, if they don't throw to that guy, you don't realize that Diggs, might have ran a 30-yard dig route or
Right.
he's running, all these routes and, that wears on a guy. And I'm sure he would to me, I don't think it's as much as he wants the ball more. I think it's as much as like he wants to be part of a more fluid offense, which is going to open him up for easier stuff and easier catches and easier yards and easier touchdowns. So I'm kind of with you. I think he would rather the system expand a little bit rather than be all on his shoulders right now.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah. And like you said, that lion's share of, like you said, the exert the energy in the sense where, in those type of moments, and like you said, and he'll have that opportunity, and I think Dale definitely will get it together now with Ken Dorsey. Now officially, his second year in, I think there was a transition between with Dave Ball leaving last year. Ken Dorsey was the quarterback coach prior, and then now he's now second year as the offensive coordinator. So I definitely think they will do a better job with that. And like I said, and I do understand like where Diggs come from that standpoint. But he said Bama quarterbacks. Shots I got wrong. But is it the Bama quarterbacks?
I got no problem.
Even my QB too.
But like what we're talking about is the wide receiver, and I don't say wide receiver 1 and 2 anymore, but that's typically how we say this. Wide receiver 2 is Gabe Davis. That guy he's a good player, but he's got a niche, and it's not it's not really opening up the field or his whole route tree isn't necessarily open. I mean, I know it sounds like he does some really good things, but he's also slightly 1 or 2 dimensional. He's not like the Wes Welker type like back in the day that opens up all this other, he doesn't draw as much of attention as he needs to away from Diggs to let him go out there and work. Like if you look at Cincinnati and look at how those receivers work with each other, somebody has an easy job every time, as long as Burrow can see the guy. And that's what we're asking from Allen. So, he's got to get all of his receivers involved, and which will make it easier on everybody.
And he's been doing this for a while. Don't you think that the body getting beat up so much that he's going to have to?
That exactly what I'm worried about. I don't think Diggs wants to play a 17-game season and then go into the playoffs. I think he wants to be able to take some routes off and take some, ease through some games.
I meant Josh Allen.
Allen? That's a whole different ball game. Yeah.
Right.
Like, how can he keep playing? Like, we discussed that. I did a show earlier with Kenneth on his podcast, and we discussed the same thing. Is like, can you play how he plays for 15 years in the NFL? And the answer is so far has been no. Nobody's ever been able to do that. So like that's what I'm saying. Like dink and dunk, Josh. Just throw a 5-yard pass to somebody out in the flats or something instead of you having to like dive over 2 linebackers to get 6 yards. You got to. That's how you're going to preserve yourself for the future.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily, like you said, they missing that slot receiver. You think about in the years past, you had like Emmanuel Sanders, you had Isaiah McKenzie. Now, bringing in your boy Trent Sherfield.
Yeah,
that's gonna be interesting. So, so that's one thing too. Like the diversification of this offense definitely needs to be there, and they got the weapons.
I was gonna say what I will say is they've got depth at receiver too. So if one of these guys can step up, it's going to be, and I think one of them will. I don't think, what I mean? I think one of them is going to take that role. I don't necessarily know who it's going to be. It's going to be whoever probably grooves with, Allen the best.
Yeah. So I look at for my players, obviously Buffalo, you look at Josh Allen offensively. A guy that I'm really it's crazy in a it's really the guy I'm looking at on Buffalo ends is Michael Hyde. And if it wasn't for DeMar Hamlin situation, I think he could be somebody that you can look at as a comeback player of the year, potentially candidate. If because we all know, I think in my personal opinion, I think we all know to a man, DeMar Hamlin's gonna win that hand.
As long as he can play.
If he takes one snap, he only got to take one snap, and he's hell. Even when even if he's on the practice squad this year. Well, I'm just saying what he's done already in the preseason is warranted. He's gonna be the comeback player of the year. So that's concerned. So Miami, obviously, Tua, obviously, and I just look at your defense. I look at, just like you said, you talked about it, all pros and pretty much in multiple positions. And then you got Vic Fangio, which I think, oh man, that's a perfect marriage to have those type of players. You have a Vic Fangio defense, and it's gonna, like you said, they're gonna have that opportunity, especially when you look at kind of the finesse teams in the Jets and the Bills, who like kind of have prolific offenses. That's a great opportunity for them essentially to kind of counter that. So that's one thing too, where that's what kind of makes Miami the dangerous team in the sense where if you look at it, they're probably more likely going to be like one of the most complete teams. The only really, there's certain question marks. Yeah.
I mean, they pushed Buffalo right to the limit in the playoffs last year with on a 75% of their team. So like they had a good showing, better showing in the playoffs than we kind of remember because of the loss. I mean, it did stink, but they showed up.
And then with the Patriots, like we talked about Mac Jones, obviously, I think now, like I talked about it earlier, with having actually Bill O'Brien as the OC. We'll see how that goes. And then Zeke as well. I think, he'll definitely be someone that you'll see. And then with the Jets, I mean, you look at, obviously, Aaron Rodgers. And then and also, one thing you talked about earlier, Jeff, was the offensive line. You look at now, two of my 804 guys are in there. Shout out Dwayne Brown, Herman class 03, our guy. He's getting up there in age, but hey, we keep getting your checks, Dwayne. And then my guy, 15 South Oak legend, Mekhi Becton. Springer stand up. So you look at that, and then you got Elijah Vera Tucker. And that's the crazy thing about this team. On paper, they have a good offensive line. I know that Saleh called him out, but that's the thing where, they're good on paper. I just want to see how that manifests with, especially with, Aaron Rodgers. And then now you get the running game with, Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall, and then my nephew. Don't people forget my nephew, Michael Carter. Like, he's another one. Yeah, so they got a three-headed monster with the Jets, so I definitely see how the offensive line is going on.
I think Carter, if we're going to resemble how the Packers were, for a lot of the years where Hackett and Rodgers were together, Carter's going to have a big role. They were definitely a multiple running back system who had the hot hand. I mean, how many times do we see a Packers running back come out of nowhere and have a great game and a couple touchdowns? Like, that's what Carter's going to be this year. I think he's going to be a huge piece of this offense, in a running back by committee that everybody's going to go to. And Lazard, I think Lazard has the chance. I think Lazard's a good receiver. I think this is a good situation for him with Garrett Wilson. This is what we talked about the Buffalo probably doesn't have. I think this is a really good 1-2 combination for the Jets and Rodgers.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So we got to talk about some breakout players that we have here in the AFC East. So, Jeff, who you got?
The breakout players is a tough one. I know we talked about so many of them already. I don't really – I guess we go down to – let me see here. I'm a little behind the eight ball. Looking at the roster, I will say – Dolphins on defense, as far as I don't know, I guess for football fans, it's too late for Holland. I think he's done enough that us people that watch the game realize how good Holland is at safety. But Javon Holland, I think could become one of the maybe one or three best safeties in the league this year, and everybody know his name. But I know like football fans, that's an easy one. As far as like, I say this isn't a breakout player, but this is a crazy one. In the situation, he's wide receiver 1 for New England. There's the outside possibility that Juju has a really, really like good year. I'm not necessarily predicting it, but he's in a really good situation to get a lot of balls, and if he takes himself seriously and he's there, and Mac has a decent year like Maui thinks, like that's a guy that out of nowhere could be like, wait a minute, Juju's a number 1. And then maybe like it's hard to say, like you can't say Jalen Waddle anymore. I know he's a second-year guy. Wilson for the Jets has already stood out. I guess I'll say Lazard. I think Lazard's a guy that if he has a really good year, maybe 15 touchdowns. I don't think everybody outside of like football geeks like us will, I think that'll be sort of new to them. So I'll say Lazard would be considered a breakout player if he has a really good year.
Yeah, when it comes to that,
and Carter, I already talked about Michael Carter.
Michael Carter. Yeah. We understand we football geeks, so it's more so the outside world.
Yeah, I know it sounds silly for me to say that, but like probably 80% of the people might find out who Javon Holland is this year. So I guess that would be considered breakout.
All right, who you got, Al?
I was gonna say Juju, but my Steeler spirit said no. No. I want to give money to the dude that stole his bikes. I'm like, why did you give it back? So, man. But anyway, I'm all over the place, fellas. But I'm gonna go Leonard Floyd for the Bills. I got Chosen Anderson. I just picked, and because the Dolphins got so many, so I just picked one.
Yeah,
that I felt like, okay, everybody else got a name. Let's put him in there so that for a breakout. You know what I mean? Terrion Armstead. I put Zeke. I felt like I put Zeke because I felt like one day he's going to somewhere grow up, and I still think he could be a monster. You know what I mean? But I feel like, I don't know, opportunity, like everybody competitive. I just like, wow, okay, Zeke is back. You know what I mean? Just one day I might hear somebody, damn, Zeke looking like he did in the early days with the Cowboys. You know what I mean? So I put Zeke. I put Ramondre Stevens, of course. Like I said, he got 1,000. What I did was I looked at his stats the last 2 years. So his first year, he got almost 700. 700 yards. In 2022, he got over 1,000. So I feel him moving up. And then I put Cam Smith. I feel like he's a corner for the Dolphins. I feel like he is going to help Howard, where they could put a Howard more into like maybe a zone because he's been getting beat out a lot. So those are my breakout players.
No, I like that. Those are good choices.
Yeah, for sure. So for Buffalo, I'm a and it's funny now to think that we're gonna have a Cook brothers matchup twice a year now. So with Dalvin and with the Jets, and now I want to talk about his brother, James Cook, for Buffalo, where you look at he had 507 rushing yards last year. Can he get over that 1,000-yard milestone potentially this year? And we always said like Buffalo's biggest Achilles heel was their run game. So that's one thing too, where you look at it from that standpoint. It's like, that's one of the things that you look at. A guy in a weird way, I think, in my personal opinion, is going to have a breakout year. And it's not like you said. It's like football nerds know it. He's somewhat of a name, but I think the only reason why I think I have him as this is going to be Bradley Chubb. And I'm going to look at it for a
I was looking at Chubb, and I didn't.
Because I can see him now going back to maybe his 2018 frame where he had the 12 sacks. So I definitely see him having a double-digit sack year in this Vic Fangio's defense. So I'm looking at, especially now you have him now for the whole entire season.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was a mid-season acquisition for you guys last year. I definitely think he'll definitely pay big dividends, and it's
No, I'm just going to
Yeah,
piggyback on it. Him and Wilkins are they
for
really
sure.
do everything that you want a modern defensive line to do.
Yeah.
They're not. I don't honestly like. I don't think they're as far. I know we everybody's talking about the Jets defensive line, and they should really good players up there. They're going to be a force. They're going to they're going to keep their team in games. But I don't think that the Dolphins defensive line is as far behind as people may realize. So I think that's a really good choice because just like you said, like to me, when I see Chubb, I'm like, well, of course. But then I'm like, well, why? Like
Yeah.
he didn't explode last year when he got traded. A lot of people thought it was Nick Chubb before they really
Mhm.
looked at the headline. So like, I think that's a good choice.
Right.
And real
Right.
quick, a guy that I forgot about on the Jets roster that could come out of nowhere because I thought he was really good with Cincinnati is CJ Uzuma.
Mm.
That's a really talented tight end. He's he's slotted as a second tight end, but what's that mean? They might be in they might be in 22 personnel, half the game. We don't know what the Jets are going to do, but Uzuma is like a guy that Rodgers could really get the most out of.
Right.
Yeah. And then yeah. So that one, New England. I know people, even and Stu was on my case about this one too. You should have got Christian Gonzalez instead of Emmanuel Forbes. Stu, I know we talked about this in April, but I definitely think Christian Gonzalez. I think, in my personal opinion, is going to have a great impact, especially when you have obviously with Bill Belichick in that defense. He's definitely going to be somebody that I think is definitely going to be a breakout for New England. For that as well. And for the Jets, and like you said, the Jets is all a little different. I already talked about my nephew, so I'm not want to double dip and talk about him. But I got to really see from a special teams aspect, I think it helped
Oh,
them
okay.
is Miko Hardman, and obviously
Oh,
he's the
okay.
carryover from Kansas City. So I definitely think he could be someone that could definitely help them from a special teams aspect, and also I think from a wide receivers aspect as well too. Definitely, if you have some, if there's if there's an injury on that wide receiver core, I think he can step in. And he's had experience. He's Super Bowl champion twice, so you're looking at he brings that experience,
I
and
like that. Yeah, I think that was a good pickup by them. Like
yeah, that's
these are
right.
good players to just have on your roster. Those are
Right.
really good players to have on your roster. They're important players.
And he was a sneaky acquisition because it's kind of
Yeah.
one of the things where he gets lost, especially with everything else that had happened with I said Green Bay with the Jets. With obviously Aaron Rodgers steals the headlines, but this was kind of one of those backdoor type of deals where it's like, okay, oh, this happened.
Mm.
So that's who I have. So for that, now we've had hot takes, and Jeff Paul Father, you'll have to stir the pot. I think we just stirred the pot like the last like 6 previews. But I do want to get any of your bold AFC East takes.
I don't think the Jets are near as good as people think. I've only got them at 9 wins on the year, which I know is way lower than everybody thinks. But I think it's because the offensive line is going to be an issue, being 39 years old. And I think my bold take is that Aaron Rodgers' true self will rear his ugly head at some point when something's
Mm.
not going quite the right way. And he's not going to be able to not talk publicly. He's not going to be able to not do the McAfee show. And then the New York media is going to go nuts. But I think Rodgers is going to actually love that and play into it. And it's going to be a giant distraction. And it's going to be similar to what you brought up earlier, Coach, with the Brett Favre year. And I think the season, by the time it's all said and done, is going to be like, wait a minute, we're giving this guy, because everybody acts like Rodgers took that pay cut, but he's also due something stupid like $100 million next year. Like, this still is going to cost the Jets a lot of money. And I think the experiment is going to be a failure. Not necessarily because Rodgers is bad, but just the combination of everything. I do think he snaps, and I do think he shows his true self, and I don't think that this works out for the New York Jets.
Okay, so
Damn.
hey, it's a possibility. You bought the heat, so yeah.
I'm saying damn because every time you on the show, if somehow we agree or something is connected, it scares me. So mine is that once the Jets, that Robert Slay, that's the name of the coach, right? I don't want to mess his name up.
Yeah, Rob Salah. Yeah, yeah.
Rob Salah.
So,
Robert
what was
Salah.
it? Robert Salah. Yeah,
Okay, will
Salah.
not make it. Will not make it
Ooh.
past the end of the season because once the Jets start, and I'm freestyling. I wrote some stuff, but I'm freestyling. Once the Jets start struggling, the New York media and everybody started seeing whose fault is it because they always said they was only a quarterback away.
Yep.
So he's been there 3 years. So who are you going to get rid of? Are you really going to give Aaron Rodgers, or do Aaron Rodgers deserve another year or two? Or are you going to get rid of this coach and maybe get somebody that Aaron Rodgers feel like he can work with? So that's my bold take that I don't think the New York Jets head coach Robert Slayer, probably
I
think it's solid.
Solid, yeah, Robert Solid. Yeah,
I think I said solid.
Robert Saleh.
I do a Hard Knock show every week, and
solid. Yeah, solid.
Robert Saleh
Robert
will
Solid.
not make it.
Yeah, because he's a guy that likes. Yeah, he's not a patsy either. Like he's a guy that likes to be in charge and hear himself talk. And he's not just going to bow down to Rodgers like most coaches, like Hackett does. Hackett will do whatever Rodgers says to keep a job and blah blah blah. I think this dude's cut different. I don't think it's going to happen that way. So it might be a you or me thing. I kind of
Rodgers is different than Brett Favre. A lot of the team and players like Brett Favre. I mean, like Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. A lot of people like Aaron Rodgers.
I can see why. I don't.
He gonna be able to play with the media, and New York City is going to love that character that he's going to bring out, and they're going to look at that coach like, we would rather have him than you. You can be replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I hope my boy Joe D don't do it. Our boy Joe D from the 804, Joe Douglas. Shout out to Joe Douglas.
But bottom line is, we all feel like something's there that is probably going to blow up.
I don't trust Aaron Rodgers. Plain and simple. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers. But here's what I'll say about Aaron Rodgers. A team he was with for 18 years had to beat the Detroit Lions at home in January to go to the playoffs and couldn't. Now all of a sudden he's going to go to a brand new team and in a much more difficult division and put them over the top. Like I don't know why I'm supposed to just automatically believe that something's going to change.
And we gift wrapped them that Packers win. I mean, we gave them the opportunity to make it to the playoffs,
right?
But they let Seattle in. But yes, hell no them. But yeah, so I think to me, and you know, even though Podfather's on the pod, I'm not kind of to drum up the Dolphins, but I say beware of the Dolphins in the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think this team can be contending, like regardless of where they fall in this division, they're going to be a danger out in January. Like this is a team that you don't, you know, they have a game that travels.
Yes.
This is a team I would not want to be playing the second or third week in January. If I'm trying to go to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl,
they've got a full, like, you know, he's implemented like a more of a full San Francisco type, you know, backfield now to where he can do some of the stuff, you know, that the 49ers did. This is the closest. Well, here's my comparison. We said this for years about the 49ers. Oh, if they just had a quarterback. Well, this Dolphins team is essentially built without the linebackers, kind of built like the 49ers, and they supposedly have the quarterback. So in theory, this should be a really good team.
Right.
And I think even if something happens to Tua, I still think Mike White would be capable. I would trust him more than I would trust Skylar Thompson.
Yeah. And
just be honest, yeah.
And I'm hoping there's somebody floating out there. And the thing about the Tua injury is it's not a lower body, it's not shoulders or whatever. It is literally, we're all saying the same thing. Can he get hit in the head or not? Like nobody wants to say it out loud, but that's what we're saying.
Right.
Like physically, everything was fine except for he took some nasty, you know, scary head blows. So we're all just saying, like, can he get hit and get up? Because it's not, he don't have a rehab knee or shoulder or anything. So like, you know, if he doesn't take a nasty hit, he in all likelihood he should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you just look at just the injuries that he has had, even dating back to Alabama, like you said, and it's like because the concussion is the biggest concern. Because versus
Yeah, oh yeah.
other injuries, because even with the hip injury, okay, we can repair your hip and you're good in a year.
But remember, like the ankle caused
Yeah.
that hip. Like Saban caused that
Correct.
hit because they wanted to beat
Correct.
LSU. They wanted to try and beat LSU that year. Like Tua should have never been out there. If his healthy ankle, he doesn't hurt that hip. Like anybody that watched that
Yeah,
game,
man.
I've been on that podium for years
Yep.
as far as he's injury prone. I'm like, no, he's not injury prone. He played hurt.
Played
Just like
hurt,
Baker
yep.
Mayfield. I said that about Baker Mayfield for the last 5 years.
That kind of
Like
year. Yep,
if you
that
go out
kind
there
of
and play hurt and it puts yourself in a bad position, then you get hurt worse. Just like Tua coming back early last year really caused the second injury. Like he just shouldn't have been out there. So what we'd be talking about now is a guy that had a nasty concussion, but hopefully recovered from it, but he took the appropriate amount of time. So that's always been Tua's thing, is getting back out on the field.
Did he get paid last year or the year before?
No, he's still on his rookie.
He's still on his rookie? Because I thought he got paid. Okay.
No, I don't believe so. Yeah, he's only in year. This would be his year, I think. I think this is the put up or shut up year for Tua.
Oh, okay, so do you think that's why he came back early? Because he did play 13
I don't
games
want to
last
guess. Like if he's going to tell me he did it just to try and win, like I'm with you. Like I don't know the reasoning or who told him what or the advice. Like that's all been really blurry through this, and I would like to hope that like coaches and stuff in charge didn't put him in harm's way. He's everybody's taking the proper road on it, but we haven't really got the truth. So but yeah, this is the year that Tua needs to play really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is him, and this is him, and Fields, Burrow, like all that's coming up this year.
Right.
2020 guys, yeah. 2021, yep.
Mm-hmm.
So and like this, so pretty much, yep. Just be aware the Dolphins, they'll be a tough out in the month of January. So we gotta do our record prediction. So we'll go around the horn, fellas. So Hardfather, who you got winning this division, and then just the records down the line.
So I got Buffalo winning 12-5. I got Miami second at 11-6. I got New York at 9-8, like I touched on earlier, and I got New England at a disappointing 6-11. Because basically what I'm saying is I don't believe totally in their passing game. That's the one that could surprise me, but that's what I wound up with when I went down the schedules and looked at it. That's what little old me came up with. So that's probably at least 2 playoff teams out of that division.
All right.
Yeah. What you got, Mal?
Hey, Coach, could I do the opposite? I wanted to say who's going to win the division at the end, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
all right, cool. Put the suspense there since we got the pod guy. Pod guy on the show, right? So I got number 4, I got the Pats with 6-11. At number 3, I got the Jets at 8-9. At number 2, dun, dun, dun. I have the Buffalo Bills at 9-8, and winning the division.
Whoa.
I got the Miami Dolphins. Check this out. We're at 11-6.
Okay, so we agree on that. So you think the Bills are taking a step back this year?
I think they setting you up, even though they have everything. I think they setting you up because to me, the offense that they should be playing is the same offense that Hurst played last year. And that's the truth. But I had Ben Roethlisberger. So what I remember is the early Ben, he will hold the ball too long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like Josh, how long has he been in the league?
This would be his year 5, I think, because he had the bad year, then he had he stepped up the next year, then he stepped up again. I think this is 5. This should be year 5 if I'm not being crazy.
Yeah, because he had drafted 18, 2018.
That sounds right. Yeah.
So if you think just like in boxing, they say anytime you get in trouble, you lose rounds. So you look at Josh Allen and how he plays, he's going to constantly keep losing some sort of a game. Like he does play hard, and if anything fails, he's going to run. You know what I mean? And he runs different than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson jukes you, where Josh Allen kind of like runs through you in some type of way. And you can only do that for so long. So I think regardless, you know what I'm saying, they're on their way back unless they come up with something. They just at a point where they got to come up with something else. They got to add something to it. You know what I mean? they got to find that cheese to put on the burger. If you understand what I'm saying, they got to add something.
Yeah, I
else,
agree.
you know what I mean?
Those windows in the NFL shut on your fingers real quick.
Yeah, and you got all those question marks. Is he going to be, a Super Bowl
And
probable
and I think
team?
we would all agree with this, just what you're saying. If Diggs gets dinged up at all,
Right.
like they're in trouble. So we talked about it earlier. Like they rely so much on him, and that's risky. That's a risky
And it's
venture.
crazy because it was just last year we were talking about how perfect the team was. Like
Yeah,
they're finally going to have a run game,
it had none.
You're looking at it now
None.
like, how do you don't have a run game when you got really a running quarterback? It's
They
weird.
almost reminded me of like those old Detroit Lions teams with Barry Sanders with the run and shoot.
Right.
Like when they ran it, it was just handing the guy the ball and hoping he could get some yards. Like there was no running game, and it killed him.
Yeah.
Dolphins almost took him, and the weather was a little nasty, and then the Bengals, beat them up pretty good when the weather was nasty at home. Both those at home.
Yeah.
The Bills would be better off not to win the division and get an away game, and I mean that.
Yeah, and that's right. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Coach.
No, what you saying?
We played them last year, and they blew us out. But the beginning of the game, I think the first half, or at least the first quarter and a half, or close to the end of the almost into the half, almost close to the halftime, we were on them. They did this long pass, and we were like playing out of our minds because they're way better than us, but we were sticking with them. The defense was popping him, and then he would happen to throw the ball down, and my safety got stripped. And I was saying, if my safety stops, if he stopped trying to intercept the ball, and if he would have tried to knock the ball down, the game might have been different. You know what I'm saying? Because my safety was just, he was running all over the place. So I don't know, man. We've had these discussions. I just feel like they just need something else. It's like they can't beat the Chiefs, and then, like I said, the Bengals just spanked them up. And these are teams, to me, they really should be better than.
Yeah.
Oh, here's what's crazy about the Bills too, real quick. The last 9 of their schedule after the Buccaneers, they decent schedule. They get through the Buccaneers, then it goes Bengals, Broncos, which we think will be better. Jets, Eagles, we know are good. Chiefs, we know are good. Cowboys, we know are good. Chargers, we know are good. Patriots, Patriots will fight you. End with the Dolphins.
Like that's the end of the Patriots is scary.
Like
the end of the season, Patriots is always scary.
So like, it's like I say, this AFC East, man, they all got a tough schedule, but the Bills are playing that first place schedule, and we all know about those first place schedule teams. You got a couple extra games on there. And so now you got to play the Bengals again. You got to play the Eagles. You got to play the Giants. Like there's so like I say, they should go like 5-2, 6-2 to start, and then it gets crazy for them.
Right.
They got to play the Commanders.
Yep.
Week 3.
And I tell you, they've proven that they're not like nobody really walks through them. I mean, that defense is going to show up and fight you. And if this offense looks as good as we think, I mean, the NFL, every team is built to go 9-8 or 8-9 this year. I mean, it is close. Big
time. So I have the Bills win this division once again, 13-4. I think they're on cruise this year through the regular season, like always. Second place, I got the Dolphins at 11-6. I got the Jets at 10-7. And I got the Patriots at 8-9. So Patriots gonna be a really interesting season. But I definitely think that's gonna play out. That's I think that kind of sets up what I thought about as far as Miami being that wild card team that they can go into a divisional champion's house and potentially win a game and may catch some divisional round.
Mm-hmm.
You see, but yeah, it's definitely going to be extremely interesting.
There's a lot of good players in this division.
It is.
I mean, there are on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, there's a lot. Bills are probably the worst defense. I don't even think that's a question. But I mean, just the offensive talent is funny because like you guys both touched on it. The Bills' overall roster fell behind the Jets and the Dolphins right now, which is great. They've still got Josh Allen, which is a big equalizer. I get that. And Diggs is fantastic. But overall, like, just like you said a year ago, we were talking about the perfect team. And now we're all of a sudden talking about, like, they're the third most talented team in their own division. Like, it doesn't make any sense how this goes in the NFL, man. These players develop and you get to see them and you're like, oh, this is different.
It's a trip to see the Pats, too, because they, like you said, you don't like to say number one receiver, but they don't really have – you know what I mean?
They're kind of a mess, and that's tough for like you got to have a really good quarterback to fight through that. Like Aaron Rodgers, like I'd feel good if he was on the Patriots that he could fight through it. Man, I don't know if Jones is ready to fight through that just yet.
For sure, absolutely. So we'll put a bow on the AFC East. So, Podfather, tell them where they can find you on social media and any upcoming projects you got going.
I got a lot going on. I try to keep up with I'm at JHunt006 on X, if you want to call it Twitter, whatever. I'm around, but I don't have my own show going right now, but I got some other shows going. I got a show going with Coach Fall. You guys can check that out. I got a show going with AB. We talk about Hard Knocks every week. We got 3 more weeks left of it. And then, of course, keep up with all my brothers, over at offtheballnetwork.com. And you can find them on the social media too. And we always got collaborations going on and a lot of stuff going on. And of course, keep patronizing these two gentlemen right here. It's one of the funnest shows of the week. They're 2 of the best in the business. And, just all the support is welcome. And we appreciate everyone.
Sure. What you got, Mal?
Oh, man, I was not going to miss this show with the podcast.
Oh, I'm so glad, man. I didn't even know. I was surprised. I'm so happily surprised.
I
was ready to talk about Winning Time for like 2 hours. I don't know if you guys are watching that.
And there we go. I'm going right there. Winning Time is one of the best shows
it's
I
so
have
much
ever
fun,
seen.
dude.
It is the most intense. I am not bored at all. And if you are a sports fan, if you are an 80s sports fan, I cannot, and I'm saying this because I don't think that it's being talked about or promoted. This is genius. I don't know hardly anything about Larry Bird, and I learned so much this Sunday
great episode
about Larry Bird. Yeah. I did not know he stopped playing with Indiana, and he went to Indiana
Really?
State.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know
he quit.
I did not know that.
Where do you find out how he hurts his back? I'm not going to spoil it for you. But
and that's what I'm saying.
Out.
I was born in 78. So, I'm talking to one of my homeboys, and he said he's seeing articles how they're just talking so bad about it. The issues with how Pat Riley is able to grow, how Jerry West changed. Like, the way they've done this I'm sorry, Coach. I know. I'm trying, bro. But the way they did this second
that's on
season,
me, Coach.
No, I was going to do this anyway. Because, you know what I'm saying? They're not promoting it like I think they should, like they did last year. The way they've done this second season, and you see the growth of the characters. Like, this is some of the best acting you've ever seen.
John C. Reilly deserves everything. Well, a lot of it too with the promotion, Maui, is nobody involved in the show that's on strike's allowed to talk about it.
Right.
So that's really Jeff Pearlman, who wrote the original books, the only guy that can really get out there and discuss it. So that's really,
that's why I would like to keep talking about and promote it, because I would like to, after this, go to another dynasty. I'm telling you, this is phenomenal.
It's so much fun.
Beginning to end.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
To end. Like, I didn't know about him hurting Magic hurting his leg.
Yeah.
The interaction of Norm and him. Like, it's free agency and extensions. They're talking about that. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, my name is Deshaun Morgan on Facebook, DT Morgan 78 Instagram. My bad, Coach Live. Please watch it every Sunday, 8 o'clock, HBO. Mid-Ax.
Word.
Pretty much follow the podcast anywhere, social media wise, Facebook, Twitter, the X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. Couch Coach Live. Also, check out the podcast anywhere you get your podcast. Spotify, Apple, we're on there, iHeart, all of that. Check out the website, couchcoachlive.com. And also check out the YouTube page as well. For Couch Coach Live, man. So 7 divisional previews down and 1 more to go. This is the penultimate one. Like the great Vanessa Williams said, we saved the best for last. So
here we
we're
go.
48 hours away. We're 48 hours away from the NFC East preview. So get your popcorn ready. It's gonna be a packed house. So we'll talk about the 4 teams in the greatest division of all time, the NFC East, where we'll be talking about
greatest division of all time.
We'll be talking about the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Jets, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington Commanders. So
I want a rematch. I want a rematch of that '82 Super Bowl. I want another shot at Washington.
Hey man,
Riggins ain't gonna be there. Riggins ain't gonna bail you out this time, Coach.
You beat us in '72, and of that BS, it would have been. You know what's crazy? That sack that would have been end up in an incomplete pass.
Yeah.
So we would have beat the undefeated Miami Dolphins. So, and I stand on that. Even how many years later?
This is the year. This is the year. Tua.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Yes, we got an Alabama North Carolina matchup.
The grudge match.
I'm in a transition, so I'm going to stay over here.
Yes, indeed. So, once again, Paul, Father Fresh, appreciate you for coming on, and we'll put a bow on tonight's show and catch you guys in 48 hours.
Peace
for the main event, and we're out.
Welcome.
Hold on. What's going on?